The more I look at this photo, the more I'm charmed by it. These two teens are huddled together in the dark, lit only by the glow of their phone, sitting under the word free, a fitting slogan for any young person in search of an escape. However, that graffiti seems ironic, because this picture was taken in Cuba, a place where up until a few months ago was completely cut off from the rest of the world. The intimate moment in the dark was captured by this woman.
My name is Dory Simon, and I'm a filmmaker and travel writer from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This photo was taken in Cuba, in Havana, at Parque Deportivo Jose Marti, which is an abandoned stadium and sports facility near Vedado.
The sports stadium Dory stood in was built in 1940 as a sign of hope. But after the Cuban Revolution of the 1950s, Fidel Castro seized power and eventually built a larger stadium. The original stadium was deserted and even wiped off most Cuban maps. What remains stands battered and run down, covered in graffiti tags, chipped paint and debris, an unlikely place to find many people. But as Dory wandered around the space, she suddenly heard voices coming from the stadium's empty pool.
I passed the high dive and I could see that there were some teenagers underneath, and they were listening to music pretty loudly from a smartphone. They were kind of intertwined with each other, smiling and flirty. It was really interesting because they were listening to music from the United States, basically the top 10 songs on iTunes, so they were quite up to date with music, and I thought that was really interesting because from what I understood at the time, Cubans have really limited access to the internet.
For over 50 years, Fidel Castro ruled Cuba under a communist dictatorship, isolating the country from the modern world, adopting harsh laws, and severely censoring Cuban expression. And in 1960, the US imposed a trade embargo, cutting all ties and prohibiting travel to the country. But in February of 2015, 2 months prior to Dory's visit, President Obama and Cuba's current president, Raul Castro, reached an agreement, and the 55-year-long embargo was finally lifted.
I think it's really important to consider what the embargo lift can do for Cuban youth because they're so well educated, and from what I could tell, they're so eager to know more about the world. Every person I talked to in Cuba wanted to know about where I'm from and what it's like where I'm from and just to know more, but unfortunately, there are major limitations in the information that Cubans have access to.
Cuba continues to face restrictions under their government, from their press to their internet access. The cost of Wi-Fi alone makes using the internet impossible for the average Cuban, who makes roughly $15 per month. All of this, coupled with Cuba's declining youth population, left Dory wondering what lies ahead for the developing nation.
A lot of people say that Cuba is about to undergo some major changes because of the American influence and what American companies will do there. I'm sure that that will happen, but I don't think that the real heart of Cuba will change. Hopefully, based on what I saw of the Cuban youth population, people full of life, full of energy, vibrant, colorful, musical, excitable people, I don't expect that any of that will go away.
If you want to know more about Cuba, check out Seeker Daily's episode on common misconceptions that Americans have about the country.
They have a better infant mortality, literacy, and unemployment rate than Canada, and they beat the US when it comes to overall health.
Catch more of This Happened Here on Seeker Stories every week, and thanks for watching.